You ever watch something shatter and realize the break started long before you heard it crack? That was me, standing in my sister's kitchen, holding a wine glass in one hand and a secret in the other. She turned to me, smiling like we hadn't been strangers for the last year, and said, "You were never really meant to have him, you know. You just got there first." I didn't drop the glass, but I wish I had, because at least then the sound would have matched the moment. At least then someone in that room would have looked up. But no one did. Not my sister. Not her new fiancé. Not the circle of friends who used to be mine. They kept sipping champagne, laughing, telling stories about how fate works in funny ways. And me? I just stood there, breathing through a pain that tasted like metal. You want to know betrayal? Try watching your only sibling raise a toast to the man you almost married. Try smiling while she flashes a diamond ring he once promised to you. Try pretending that everything didn't just shift sideways in a single sentence. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Mara Blake. I used to believe in fairy tales. And then my sister stole mine. It started 2 years ago. I was engaged to Caleb Weston, the kind of man who makes promises with his eyes before his mouth ever catches up. We met at a friend's birthday party. He poured my drink wrong, got my name wrong, but still somehow made me feel like the only woman in the room. Classic Caleb. He was warm, magnetic, reckless in ways I tried to mistake for charm. He worked in finance, predictable, and had a condo downtown with cold floors and a kitchen he never used. I didn't care. I filled it with warmth. I brought plants. I hung photos. I made it ours. And for a while, it felt like a beginning. We got engaged after 14 months. A ring that fit perfectly, and a proposal that didn't. It was rushed, awkward, made on a sidewalk after a fight we never resolved. But I said yes anyway. Because love isn't always graceful. Sometimes it's messy and loud, and still worth it. Or so I thought. My sister Jillian was the first person I called. She was 6 years younger, prettier in that effortless way, and always just slightly out of reach. We were close once. Childhood sleepovers, whispered secrets, matching necklaces. But adulthood stretched us. She traveled. I stayed. She flirted with chaos. I built comfort. Still, I wanted her in my joy. She didn't answer that day. Didn't call back for a week. When she finally did, she said, "Wow, you and Caleb? Didn't see that one coming." I thought it was just her way. Flippant. Guarded. I didn't realize it was something else entirely. The wedding planning never felt right. Caleb kept postponing tastings. Ignored RSVP deadlines. Said he was swamped with work. And Jillian, when she finally agreed to be my maid of honor, only made it to 2 of 7 appointments. Always had an excuse. Always just a little too busy. Still, I pressed on. Because I was in love. Because I believed. Then came the night everything broke. 3 weeks before the wedding, I walked into Caleb's condo, our condo, and saw her shoes by the door. Red heels I bought her last Christmas. She said they were too much. Only for special occasions, she joked. Apparently, this was one. I didn't call her name. I didn't scream. I just stood there listening. There was laughter from the kitchen. 2 voices. One I loved. One I used to. I left without a sound. Sat in my car and stared at my hands like they belonged to someone else. I didn't cry. Not right away. I just waited. Like if I sat still long enough, the universe would undo it. But it didn't. Instead, Caleb called me the next day and said, "We need to talk." He didn't deny it. Didn't beg. He just said it happened. Like weather. Like traffic. Like something no one could control. I canceled the wedding the next morning. No explanation. No confrontation. I packed my things. Moved back in with my mother. Deleted his number. Blocked hers. It took 11 months to stop waking up expecting an apology. It took another 3 to stop wishing I could forget the sound of them laughing. And then today I got the invitation. White cardstock. Gold trim. Her name in bold. His underneath. Jillian Blake and Caleb Weston invite you to celebrate their engagement. And I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because sometimes pain wraps back around so tightly it starts to look like irony. She knew what he did to me. She knew what I gave up. She knew. And she still sent the invitation. Still expected me to show up, toast their love, pretend history was just bad lighting. But I'm not who I was. And if they want a celebration, I'll give them one they'll never forget. Because sometimes revenge doesn't come with screaming. Sometimes it comes with a smile and a microphone. And a truth no one wants spoken out loud. Before we continue, take a moment to let me know where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to more powerful stories like this one. The invitation sat on my nightstand for 3 days before I touched it again. I didn't rip it up. I didn't burn it. I just looked at it. Like maybe the words would rearrange themselves into something less cruel. But they never did. Celebrate the engagement of Jillian Blake and Caleb Weston. Hosted at the Bellflower Estate. Formal attire. Champagne reception to follow. Champagne. Of course. That was Jillian's favorite kind of lie, sparkling, expensive, and impossible to hold on to once it spills. My mother asked me if I was okay. She didn't know about the invitation. She thought I'd let go, moved on, that the wound had scabbed over. She didn't know Jillian had reopened it with embossed lettering and gold foil. I'm fine, Elite. Just tired. She offered to make tea. I almost asked her if she'd still make it, if she knew both her daughters had slept with the same man. I didn't. Some truths are too sharp for the people who never saw the knife coming. That night, I drove to the bakery where I used to work weekends during college. I told myself I needed a distraction, but I think I just needed to remember who I used to be. The same girl who once stayed up until 3 a.m. frosting cakes and talking about dreams she never thought would crack. The place hadn't changed much. Still smelled like vanilla and yeast. Still had the same creaky hinge on the back door. Still run by Nico, the only person in my life who ever told me I deserved more before I realized it myself. He was in the back, elbows deep in batter, humming something off-key. When he saw me, he blinked. If you're here to order revenge cupcakes, I'm out of blood red velvet. I laughed. Genuinely. First time in weeks. I got an invitation, I said, handing him the card. He skimmed it, face tightening. She really sent this to you? He set it down like it might be toxic. And what? You going? I don't know. He raised an eyebrow. Don't know? Mara, she stole your fiancé. He wasn't mine to keep. He proposed to you. And then proposed to her. Which is why you shouldn't walk into that snake pit wearing a smile. I don't want a scene, Nico. He turned back to his batter. You don't want a scene? You are the scene. That stopped me. He looked over his shoulder. Do you want them to think you're still shattered? I didn't answer. Then don't show up small. Don't show up broken. I wasn't planning on showing up at all. He turned, wiped his hands on a towel, and walked toward me. Then that's your answer. You're not ready. I'm not looking for revenge. He smiled softly. Maybe not. But maybe you're looking for closure. And sometimes the only way to get it is to give them exactly what they never expected. Which is what? Your grace. The next morning, I got a call from Grant, Caleb's best man when we were engaged. He was the only one from their circle who didn't drop me like a cursed heirloom. He sounded cautious. Like he wasn't sure which version of me would pick up. Hey. I heard about the engagement party. Let me guess. You got invited, too. Nope. I found out on Instagram. Of course. Jillian always loved an audience. You okay? He asked. I'm great. Just prepping my toast. There was a long pause. Then he sighed. Can I say something without you hanging up? Depends on what it is. I know what Caleb did was low. And I should have said something back then. I didn't. I was a coward. But if you're planning to go, maybe you don't have to do it alone. I sat up. What are you saying? I'm saying if you want backup, I'll be there. As your plus one. Your shadow. Your hold my earrings guy. Whatever you need. I didn't say anything. He chuckled nervously. It's just a party, Mara. But it might be easier walking in if you've got someone beside you. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just angry. I was tired of pretending I wasn't, and I was tired of being the one who disappeared. That night, I RSVP'd online.
Yes.
+1. I picked out a dress. Not flashy, not sweet, something sharp. Navy silk, clean lines, unapologetic. Then I opened my notes app and typed one sentence. To the man who promised me forever and the sister who couldn't wait for never. I didn't know if I'd use it, but it felt good writing it. Felt like power. And for the first time since that wine glass almost shattered, I wasn't afraid of the mess anymore. Because Jillian might have stolen my ending. But the story? That was still mine to tell. The Bellflower estate looked like something ripped from a bridal magazine. White stone archways. Rose petals scattered like secrets. Music that sounded expensive. The kind of place designed to make people believe in fairy tales. But I knew better. The valet took Grant's keys and opened my door like I was royalty. Funny. Last time I was here, it was Caleb opening that door, back when we toured the venue as a maybe for our own wedding. Now I was stepping out of the car as the forgotten almost bride, invited only to smile and clap while the woman who shared my DNA married the man who once said he couldn't imagine life without me. I adjusted the strap of my dress and took a deep breath. Grant stepped beside me, eyes scanning the crowd. Still time to fake food poisoning, he said. I smiled. Too dramatic. I'd rather be subtle. He looked at me. You wearing that dress is not subtle. Exactly. We walked in. The reception hall was filled with soft light and softer lies. People turned as we entered. Some stared. Some whispered. One woman audibly gasped and said my name like a curse. Jillian hadn't told them I was coming.
Perfect.
She spotted me before I spotted her. She froze for a second, just a flicker, before recovering, walking toward me with arms outstretched like we were sisters in a Hallmark movie. Mara, she cooed. I didn't think you'd come. I hugged her just long enough to feel how tense her spine was. I couldn't miss it, I said sweetly. You only get to steal your sister's fiancé once. A laugh choked out of Grant beside me. Jillian's smile twitched. We were going to call you. But, everything moved so fast. I looked around at the catered elegance. Clearly. Then Caleb approached. God, he looked exactly the same.
Clean-shaven.
Crisp white collar. That smug confidence that used to feel like charm and now felt like a warning sign. Mara, he said, voice low. You look… Not yours anymore, I interrupted. Let's stick with that. He blinked.
Didn't argue.
Just shoved his hands in his pockets and looked away. I didn't feel triumph. I felt clear. It was like standing on the edge of something I'd already jumped from once. And this time I had wings. The party moved around us like a well-oiled machine.
Toasts. Hors d'oeuvre.
People pretending they hadn't heard the rumors. I didn't say much. I didn't need to. Jillian was busy floating from guest to guest, her laugh just a little too high, her eyes flicking toward me every few minutes like I was a ticking clock. Grant leaned in at one point and whispered, You're haunting this room. Good, I said. I'm not here to disappear. The microphone sat on the edge of the stage, waiting. I knew Jillian would call me up eventually. She had to. It was part of the script, inviting the estranged sister up to give a charming, well-behaved toast. A sign that everything was water under the champagne bridge. But then something unexpected happened. Mrs. Weston, Caleb's mother, took the mic. And the air in the room shifted. I hadn't seen her since the engagement ended. She never reached out, never asked what happened. I always assumed she didn't care. But the way she looked at Jillian now, that wasn't love. It was warning. She cleared her throat. Before we continue, I'd like to say something. Something that's been weighing on me. Everyone quieted. Even the string quartet stopped. Jillian's face froze. Caleb stepped forward, confused. Mom, he said. She raised her hand. Let me finish. Then she looked at me. Straight at me. Not through me.
At me.
I've known Mara Blake for 6 years, she began. And I always hoped she'd be the one standing here next to my son. A few gasps. A few chairs shifting. Jillian's mouth parted in protest, but Mrs. Weston continued. I said nothing when things ended. I thought it was their business. I thought they'd find their way back. And when I heard about the engagement, I kept quiet again, because I thought Caleb knew what he was doing. She turned to him. Her voice sharpened. But you don't, do you? Caleb's face flushed. This isn't the time. It's the only time, she cut in. Because this, she gestured to the room, the flowers, the spotlight, is built on a lie. The room fell silent. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. I won't say more, she said, stepping back. But I won't pretend either. And then she handed the microphone to me. No one spoke. All eyes turned. I didn't plan for this. I didn't ask for it. But as I walked up to the stage, dress rustling, heels clicking like punctuation on the silence, I realized something. I wasn't here to ruin anything. I was here to finish something. Because this wasn't about Caleb. It wasn't even about Jillian. It was about finally being heard. Even if my voice shook. Even if the room wanted me to stay silent. I took the mic. And I smiled. I stood there for a moment, mic in hand. The entire room stretched silent like fabric waiting to rip. Jillian's face was frozen in a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Caleb looked ready to bolt or drink himself invisible. And Mrs. Weston, she had taken her seat and folded her hands like she'd just set fire to a field and now wanted to watch it burn. I took a breath. Then I said, "Thank you, everyone, for giving me a moment. I'll be brief." A few chuckles. Nervous. Hopeful. They thought I would play nice. Be gracious. Be poetic. Be the good sister. The ex who glows instead of grieves. I glanced at Jillian, and her smile tightened like a drawstring bag full of secrets. So, I continued. Love is a funny thing. It makes fools out of the smartest people. It makes liars out of the most honest. And sometimes it makes ghosts out of the living. The room shifted. Even the air seemed to grow still. When Caleb and I were together, I said evenly, we used to joke about how fast time was moving. How one day, we'd blink and we'd be old and married and wondering where the years went. I smiled slightly. Well, I blinked. And when I opened my eyes, I wasn't standing next to the man I loved. I was standing in his shadow. And then eventually, I was nowhere at all. I heard a glass clink. Someone cleared their throat. Now, I'm not here to tell old stories or spill tea or ruin a night that's been curated within an inch of its life. I laughed gently. God knows this room smells like lavender and legacy. A few polite chuckles. No one knew where I was going.
Good.
I came here because I was invited. And because I believe that truth, when spoken gently, can still cut through a lie that's wearing heels and a white dress. Jillian flinched.
So I leaned in.
When your sister calls you crying at 2 a.m. because she doesn't understand why the man who once kissed her like air has stopped calling altogether, you don't imagine that he's just moved one door over. Now there were gasps, not whispers.
Gasps.
I hadn't planned this. I really hadn't. But when I saw Jillian's hand grip her champagne flute so tightly I thought it might snap, I realized something. This wasn't a toast.
It was an autopsy.
It's okay, though, I said softer now. Because time has a way of revealing things that charm hides. And sometimes, the truth is ugly. But it's still better than the lie that lets you sleep at night. I turned to Jillian. You were my sister before you were a secret. You were my family before you were my rival. And you were the one person I thought would never pick silence over me. She looked away, her eyes wet.
Good.
Because mine had been bleeding for 2 years. I looked out at the crowd. Polished people in polished clothes, suddenly uncertain which version of the story they'd been told. Then I smiled again, the kind of smile you wear when you've already survived the worst thing that ever happened to you. And with that, I said, raising my glass, to the bride and groom, may your love last longer than your lies. May your truth catch up before the stories do. And may your first dance be the only step you didn't choreograph. Silence. Then Grant clapped once. Sharp. Deliberate. Someone else followed. Then another. Until it was a soft wave of reluctant applause. I set the mic down. Walked back to my seat. Caleb wouldn't look at me. Jillian didn't move. And Mrs. Weston? She raised her glass to me with a nod. A silent, knowing salute. Later, as guests began to excuse themselves with fake yawns and urgent babysitters, Jillian found me by the garden terrace. "You didn't have to do that," she said, voice low. "No," I replied. "I didn't. But you did. And now we're even." She shook her head. "You embarrass me." I laughed. "You dismantled me. Call it balance." She opened her mouth, then closed it. "What do you want me to say, Mara?" "The truth. Just once." She looked out at the night sky, biting the inside of her cheek. Then she whispered, "It was never about him." That stopped me. "What?" "It wasn't about Caleb. It was about you. It's always been about you. You got the good grades, the scholarships, Mom's pride. You always looked like you had it all together. And you wanted to break me?" I finished. "No," she said quickly. "I wanted to be you." That hit harder than any affair ever could. We stared at each other. Two sisters. Two women with matching eyes and mismatched hearts. And I realized maybe she never wanted him at all. Maybe she just wanted my spotlight. But she never realized I'd already given it up. "You can have it," I said. "All of it." The dress. The ring. The performance. Then I leaned closer. "But remember, Jill, the truth doesn't disappear just because you say it softer." She turned to say something else, but I was already walking away. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is leave before they ask you to. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was upset, not exactly, but because I couldn't quiet the feeling that something had shifted, something big. Like I'd kicked open a door I didn't realize was locked from the inside. I sat on the edge of my bed, dress still draped over the back of the chair, heels abandoned near the closet, replaying the toast in my head, not out of regret, but out of analysis. Every word, every look, every breath that followed. My phone buzzed just after 2 a.m. A message from a number I didn't recognize. "You were brave tonight. Maybe too brave." I stared at it. Then it buzzed again. "You have no idea what you just unearthed." The next morning, I woke to 5 missed calls and 3 texts from Caleb. I didn't read them. I didn't have to. Men like him only reach out when their kingdom starts to crumble. And from what I heard, his wedding barely made it past the champagne toast. I did, however, answer the call from Mrs. Weston. "Meet me," she said. No greeting. No hesitation. "There's something you need to see." I hesitated. "Is this about the toast?" "It's about the foundation it cracked." We met at a quiet cafe off the highway, the kind of place where no one asks questions and no one brings cameras. She looked different. Not the composed matriarch from the estate. Not the socialite with pearls and polite lies. This woman wore jeans, no makeup, and a look in her eyes that said she was done pretending. She slid a manila folder across the table. Inside, bank statements, property records, flight logs. "This," she said, "is what your sister signed without reading." I blinked. "What is this?" "Caleb's business," she replied. "The one he started 2 years ago. Or at least the one he claimed was his. In reality, it was my husband's, folded into a holding company after his stroke. And when he died, Caleb took control." I skimmed the documents. My stomach turned. Multiple withdrawals. Loans taken against assets he didn't own. Shell companies linked to international accounts. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you pulled the first thread," she said. "And now everything's unraveling." I looked up. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. I want you to know you weren't just betrayed, personally. You were used." "Used how?" "You were the front," she said simply. "Your name. Your reputation. Your stability. It's why he proposed to you. You made him look credible." I felt the breath leave my lungs. "He used my name?" She nodded. "You were on the paperwork. Not directly, but buried. Hidden. Enough to be legally implicated if someone ever went looking." "And Jillian?" "She's next. He's already shifted the assets again, tied them to her." I leaned back, trying to process it all. So this wasn't about love.
No, she said.
It was about leverage. I left the cafe with a folder full of evidence and a truth I hadn't asked for. He hadn't just broken my heart,
He'd used me.
weaponized me. And Jillian, whatever role she thought she played in this story, was now nothing more than the next liability. Grant called later that afternoon. His voice was tight. "You need to see this." He sent me a video. Someone had filmed my toast, grainy phone footage, but the sound was clear. My words echoed through the speakers as the camera panned over stunned faces and one bride blinking back what looked like rage disguised as grace. It had already been shared over 40,000 times on TikTok. The comments ranged from "iconic queen" to "this is why I'm never having a wedding." Some users had even dubbed it the Bellflower Burn. I was a meme, a movement, and I hated how good it felt to be heard, even if the truth behind it was darker than any joke on the internet could capture. That evening, Jillian showed up at my door. No warning, no camera crew, no defense. Just her. Makeup smudged. Hair in a bun. Something unreadable in her eyes. "You made a show out of me," she said. "No," I replied. "You made a show. I just lit the stage." She didn't respond right away. Just stepped inside like she had the right, like we were still family in some unspoken way. Then she held up her phone. "I got a message from someone called Weston Family Trust. They're freezing assets. Pending internal audit." "Good. You did this." I folded my arms.
No. Caleb did.
I just told the truth. Her voice cracked.
He's gone, Mara.
Packed a bag. Left a voicemail saying I was next. That the house isn't in my name. That if I tried to find him, he'd take me down with him. She looked at me like she was 12 again. Like the sister who scraped her knee on the driveway and waited for me to help her up. "I didn't know," she whispered. "About the money.
About you.
About any of it." I almost softened. Almost. But then I remembered the emails I'd found after the engagement ended. The lipstick on his collar before he ever officially left. The way she smiled at me during that dress fitting, knowing what she was doing. "You didn't want to know," I said quietly. "That's not the same thing." She sat on the edge of my couch. "What do I do now?" I looked down at the folder still in my bag. Then at the woman who once danced with my future like it was hers to borrow. "You help me finish it," I said. She blinked. "Finish what?" "The story," I said. "Because I think this goes deeper than either of us knew. And if Caleb's gone underground."
She leaned in.
"Then we dig him out." I never thought I'd team up with my sister to take down the man she married, and I almost did. But there we were, sitting at my kitchen table, laptops open, documents spread like a forensic map of Caleb Weston's double life. "You're telling me this account was in Mom's name?" Jillian asked, scanning the spreadsheet Mrs. Weston had passed along. Her voice was distant, like her brain hadn't caught up to the reality yet. "Look at the signature," I said, sliding the paper closer.
She leaned in.
"That's not her handwriting." "No," I said. "It's mine." She looked up, eyes wide. "What?" I pulled out an old stack of papers, letters Caleb had once asked me to sign real quick during the tail end of our engagement. At the time, I thought they were rental forms. Maybe something about the wedding venue. But it wasn't that. It was access.
To me. To Jillian.
To the Weston Family Trust. He'd forged a chain using all three of us. "You said he used your name," Jillian whispered. "But you didn't say he used mine too." I looked at her. "You didn't ask." That week blurred into a hurricane of calls, whispered meetings, and late-night searches. Jillian reached out to one of her law school friends, Naomi Choi, a sharp paralegal who moonlighted as a fixer for messy family estate cases. She took one look at the ledger and whistled. "This isn't just fraud," Naomi said. "It's legacy laundering." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means Caleb was moving money through family trusts under fake business entities, so he could look like a legitimate investor," she explained. "It's what people do when they want to appear rich without earning it." "How long would this have taken?" Jillian asked. Naomi hesitated. "Years." The silence that followed was thick and sharp. That's when I realized Caleb hadn't just betrayed us. He'd built his entire future on it. The more we pulled, the worse it got. Fake shell companies in Delaware. Offshore accounts in Belize. A luxury condo in Berlin under a fake name, M. Blake. He hadn't just stolen from us. He'd used pieces of us as bricks in a house of lies. I stared at the photos Naomi found. One of them showed Caleb and some woman I didn't recognize, a brunette, maybe mid-30s, standing beside him outside a bank in Munich.
He was smiling.
Relaxed.
Free.
While Jillian and I picked through the wreckage. Mrs. Weston met us again, this time at her house, which had lost all of its gloss and grandeur in the days since the wedding. "You're both in danger," she said bluntly. Jillian laughed bitterly. "Little late for that, Mom."
Her voice had changed.
Firmer. Like she'd stepped out of some spell and was finally seeing clearly. "I told Caleb to leave," Mrs. Weston said. "He didn't listen. He took what he could and vanished." "Where's he now?" I asked. She hesitated. "He used my credentials to wire money to an anonymous real estate holding in Argentina." I blinked. "You mean he's—"
"Gone," she said.
"And unless we act fast, he's going to drag this entire family down with him." She looked at Jillian. "You've been signed as a co-executor to a new business entity. You're liable." Jillian turned pale. "And you," she said to me. "You were listed as a foundational partner. Even though you left him, you're still tied to the original funds that launched the first shell company." My stomach turned. It wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was potential jail time. Naomi came up with a plan. "We can file an emergency injunction to freeze anything left," she said. "Then we go public with a controlled narrative, make it look like you were both victims." Which you were. "And Caleb?" I asked. "We leak just enough to force him into the spotlight. If we frame it right, he'll come to us before law enforcement does." "You want to bait him," I said. Naomi nodded. "With one thing he can't resist." "What?" She smiled grimly. "Control." We crafted the story like an exposé. Jillian and I would release a joint statement. Carefully worded. Full of sorrow.
Shock.
Betrayal. But not blame. The goal was to make Caleb feel like he was still in the driver's seat. If he thought we were simply grieving and confused, not building a legal case behind his back, he'd slip. They always did. Naomi handled the press outreach. We issued the statement on a Thursday morning. By Thursday evening, my phone buzzed. "Unknown number." I answered. It was his voice.
Calm.
Dangerous. Like syrup over broken glass. "Mara," he said. "You're making a mistake." I didn't respond. "You think Jillian is innocent in all this?" he continued. "You think she didn't know?" I said nothing. "I told you once, you weren't wife material. But maybe you were always something worse." I hung up. That night, Jillian found me on my porch. Her face was pale, but her eyes were hard. "What did he say?" I told her. Every word. Then I asked the question I'd been too afraid to ask. "Did you know?" She sat down slowly. "I knew something," she said. "I knew there was money. Knew he was hiding things. But I didn't know how deep it went." "Why didn't you stop it?" "Because," she whispered, "he made me feel like I was finally worth something. Like I had power. And now I see he was just borrowing mine." We sat in silence for a long time. Sisters finally aligned, not because we forgave each other, but because we were tired of being someone else's blueprint. "Whatever comes next," I said, "we finish it together." Jillian nodded. Together. The day we got the alert, we were in the lawyer's office finalizing the affidavit. Naomi's phone buzzed first. Then mine. Then Jillian's. Call West Holdings account activity detected. Miami International wire transfer. I looked up, heart thudding. That's him. Naomi was already pulling up the bank proxy interface. He's moving money again. This time under a new alias. Jillian stepped forward. "How much?" $347,000, Naomi replied. "Which means he's scared. Or getting ready to run again," I muttered. But then Naomi leaned forward, frowning. "Wait, something's off." "What?" "This new alias." It's registered under an old Weston Foundation subsidiary, one that was dissolved 5 years ago. I blinked. That's not possible. I remember when Caleb had that company shut down. Naomi zoomed in on the signature.
That's because he didn't, she said.
Someone else did. We both leaned closer. The signature wasn't Caleb's. It was our father's. Jillian froze. Dad? But he passed away 7 years ago. I finished. Right, Naomi said. But the closure paperwork is dated 6 years ago, a full year after his death. Silence dropped like a weight. Jillian shook her head. That can't be right. Naomi looked between us. You two said your dad left everything to your mother, right? Yes, I said. Everything. Well, someone's been forging his name, Naomi said. And I don't think it was Caleb. I swallowed. Hard. Then who? The next few hours were chaos. Naomi called in a forensic document analyst she trusted. Jillian went through old emails, letters, anything she could find from our father. I sat on the floor of my apartment, knees pulled to my chest, watching the walls of our family story begin to crack like cheap plaster. Our mother arrived just after sunset. She'd seen the news, the statement, the wedding fallout, the viral toast that started it all.
She didn't look surprised.
She looked tired. I opened the door. You should come in.
She did.
And then she did the one thing I never expected her to do. She told us the truth. Your father didn't leave everything to me, she began. He was going to split it between the foundation and the two of you. I stared. He told me. He told us. He left it all to you because we were too young. She nodded slowly. That's what Caleb told you. What I let him tell you. But that wasn't the truth. Jillian's voice was tight. Then what happened? Our mother closed her eyes. Your father trusted me to execute the will. But I didn't. I deferred. I let Caleb handle the filings after your father passed. Why? I demanded. Because, she said, looking me straight in the eye, I thought Caleb was protecting you. From yourselves. From the world. From being too soft. My throat went dry. You let him forge our father's name? I didn't know at first, she whispered. But by the time I did, it was too late. The paperwork had been filed. The assets moved. Moved where? Jillian asked. Our mother hesitated. Then she said it. Into a shadow trust. Under your names. But with Caleb as the trustee. Jillian staggered back, like she'd been hit. What? Technically, our mother said, you and Mara have been the owners of every Weston Shell company for the past 6 years. Naomi, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Legally, that means Caleb isn't just a thief. He's a criminal acting under forged authority with stolen capital. But the moment this becomes public, your names go down with his, unless we prove you were unaware. I looked at my mother. All this time and you never said anything. I thought I was protecting you, she said again, voice trembling. No, I said, standing. You were protecting him. She didn't deny it. Later that night, Jillian and I sat in the kitchen. The lights were off. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the buzz of everything we now knew vibrating beneath the silence. So, everything we thought we had, Jillian whispered, the money, the companies, even Dad's name, it was all a front. I nodded. And Caleb was wearing the mask. No, she said quietly. Caleb was the mask. I looked over. What do we do now? Jillian pulled out her phone. We get ahead of this. We leak the real documents. We show the truth. We cut him off at the knees before he spins another lie. But our names? We clear them, she said. With evidence. With testimony. And if Mom won't speak up, I will. I swallowed hard. Are you ready for that? She smiled, bitter and brave. I was born in his shadow, but I'm stepping out now. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see my sister the betrayer. I saw my sister the survivor. The storm had arrived, and we were finally ready to walk through it. Together. The email went out at 10:03 a.m. Subject line: The real face behind Weston Holdings. It hit every inbox in the Weston Foundation's donor list. Every reporter who had covered the wedding. Every associate and vendor Caleb had worked with over the last 7 years. The press kit Naomi prepared included a timeline of falsified documents, screenshots of forged signatures, bank account transfers, shell companies, the power of attorney trail that tied Caleb Weston to a trust he never legally controlled. But the final file? That was a video. It was Jillian and me sitting side by side, speaking directly to the camera. Not as victims, not as angry women, but as daughters of a legacy that had been dragged through Caleb's mud and made it out clean. I am Mara Blake, I said in the video, and I was engaged to Caleb Weston before he married my sister. I left when I found out what he was doing. He used our names, our grief, and our silence to build his empire. I'm Jillian Weston, my sister said, steady as steel. I married Caleb because I believed him. I believed the story he told. I let him shape my identity, my career, my sense of self-worth. And I won't pretend I didn't play a part. But I will not let my name stand beside his anymore. At the end of the video, Jillian looked straight into the camera. If there's one thing Caleb taught me, she said, it's how easy it is to wear someone else's face. But we're not hiding anymore. And neither should you. The video went viral. Within 24 hours, it was picked up by 3 major outlets. Within 48, Caleb's name was on every news ticker on the East Coast. By day 3, subpoenas had been issued. And by the end of the week, Caleb Weston was wanted. I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty, like I had thrown my last punch and hit nothing but smoke. Are you okay? Jillian asked as we stood outside the courthouse that Friday afternoon. I shook my head.
No.
But I'm done pretending I need to be. She nodded. We'd just signed affidavits. Agreed to cooperate in every investigation. Jillian had even surrendered her marital assets.
She didn't flinch.
I'm changing my name back, she said. To Blake. I looked at her. You sure? I never stopped being one, she said quietly. I just forgot what that meant. We hugged. Really hugged. The way we hadn't in years. And for the first time, it didn't feel like a bandage. It felt like a beginning. The fallout was comprehensive. Board members resigned from the Weston Foundation. Donors pulled out. 3 companies Caleb had used as money funnels folded within the month. Naomi negotiated immunity agreements for both Jillian and me. We testified. We submitted every document we could find. We helped build the case against Caleb, brick by brick. We still haven't found him. Interpol thinks he's in South America under a false identity. But we're not chasing him anymore. Let the law do its job. We did ours. 2 months later, I reopened my old nonprofit, the one I started in college to provide mentorship to at-risk girls. This time, it wasn't under a Weston grant. This time, it had my name on it. The Blake Initiative. People ask me if I regret it. Falling for him, trusting too much, staying too long. I don't. Because if I hadn't walked through that fire, I wouldn't know what it feels like to be whole. Not healed, not yet. But whole. You can survive betrayal. You can even survive the kind that wears a wedding ring and calls you forever. But only if you stop blaming yourself for not seeing it sooner. Some people are born liars. Some people are made into them. And some of us? We learn how to speak truth into rooms where we used to be silenced. It was a Tuesday afternoon when the final envelope arrived. Handwritten. No return address. Just one line inside, in Caleb's looping scrawl. You were always more dangerous than I gave you credit for. I burned it. Not out of spite. Out of ceremony. The same way you burn a dead garden before you plant something new. The ashes don't haunt me. They feed the soil. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. If someone made you feel small, like your voice didn't matter, I'm here to remind you. It does. Sometimes healing isn't loud. It's quiet. It's slow. It's showing up every day for yourself, even when no one claps for it. And it's telling the truth, even when your voice shakes. Especially then. Because some of us, we weren't born to be quiet. We were born to break the cycle. one name at a time. If Mara's story struck a chord, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop a comment below, share your truth, your journey, your moment of clarity. And remember, sometimes the most powerful revenge is choosing peace. Until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, and never let them rewrite your story.